Yeah, you know what, Jim? I haven't processed all that yet. You know, yesterday just meeting with all the players, and then today obviously meeting with you guys. I'm gonna probably take a couple of days of just processing all those things and my emotions about all those things that went on this season. Our young guys, the development of our young guys, you know, the announcement Kobe made in Portland, and then just kind of going through this farewell tour, so to speak, for the remainder of the season. So, you know, I haven't really had time to even think about it. The only thing I've, you know, just kind of flashed through my mind the last, you know, day and a half is, you know, obviously the last game and his performance. You know, I'm still just sitting there in awe of the way he played and, you know, the way he went out, you know, with the victory and with an unbelievable game. You know, that's the only thing I've been thinking about the last day and a half or so.
Is it possible that maybe this farewell tour kind of slowed down the development of some of the guys?
It's a possibility, you know, but, you know, 20 years and 5 championships, you know, I wouldn't do it any different. He deserved everything that he got as far as everywhere we went. I've never seen so many Laker jerseys, you know, number 8s and 24s in arenas. I never heard the crowd so boisterous when he made a shot. It was almost more than their own team making shots. So I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I thought we handled it extremely well. There were nights that we had no clue if he was going to play or not. But like I said, you know, at the beginning of the season, my goal was to make sure he got to game 82 relatively healthy and was able to perform. And, you know, you couldn't have written it any better.
Byron, when you look at the record, 17 wins, what would you as a coach, what's one or two things that you would have done differently over the last 5 or 6 months?
I don't know yet. Again, I got to just kind of sit down and assess the job that I've done as well. And, you know, guys who are here that know me know that, you know, I'm not happy with the way we played as a basketball team. I think we could have been a lot better if we would have, you know, really honed in on some of the things that we had to hone in on early. But that's, you know, that's kind of the price you pay when you got young guys too. You know, it takes some young guys a little bit longer than others to develop. But overall, as far as, you know, the record and everything is, because the bottom line is that's what you judge by. You know, so, you know, like I said, I'm gonna take a couple of days to kind of soak all this in and assess the job that I've done and go from there.
Have you and Mitch had any initial conversations just regarding all that?
No.
Byron, you've said before about when you left Cleveland that you felt like what they told you the process was going to be the timeline you were going to have to implement it. They shortchanged it, basically. They didn't give you the time you thought you were going to have. Where do you feel like you are in that situation here in terms of the process, what you want to implement and how much time they're going to give you to do it?
I don't know. I think we're still all on the same page. And, you know, we have a lot, obviously, to dissect, a lot of things to go through. And we're going to go through them, you know, and then after that, whatever happens, happens.
During the season, how much pressure did you feel in terms of wins and losses? Obviously, the last couple seasons have been very difficult. So as you were going through this season, how much pressure did you feel from above in terms of performing and getting wins for this team?
None, to be honest with you. It was more of, number one, you know, especially like I said, after Kobe announced it, was to really dedicate, you know, the rest of the season of getting him through it. And number two was developing the players. You know, my main objective as a coach is, you know, to have that attitude of going into every game winning. You want to win every game. You know, that's the bottom line. That's all I know. You know, but Mitch or Jim or Jeannie never came down to me and said, you know, we need you to start winning basketball games. There was no pressure like that whatsoever.
Look back on D'Angelo Russell's rookie season as a whole, the progress he made. How do you look at it?
You know, just like most rookies, he was up and down. You know, I think at the end of the day, from day one to the last possible game, he showed improvements in a number of areas. You know, so happy with those improvements, happy with the way he progressed, you know, but there's also a lot of room for improvement on a lot of other areas of his game. You know, so, but if you look at him from day one in training camp to his last possible game this year, he was 100% better as a basketball player than he was when we started.
In what ways did you see him improve?
Well, mentally, I thought he improved. You know, his knowledge of the game got better. He still has to do a much better job of recognizing situations and things like that. Defensively, as we talked yesterday, he has to get a ton better on that end of the floor, on the ball and off the ball. But he was making those adjustments. He was trying, and that's all you can ask. A guy to try. So again, from day one to last possible game, he showed improvements in every area. But he still has a long way to go in a bunch of areas.
What about from a personal standpoint? Did you kind of see him mature through this process?
A little bit. A little bit. I mean, he has a lot of kid in him. He's 20 years old. And this is a man's game. So I think his first year of experience in this, has taught him a lot. And I think next year he'll come back better.
Would you like to see more improvement from him?
I'd like to see more improvement from everybody. I don't pigeonhole anybody.
Byron, following up on the comments you made a few weeks ago about, you have the expectations that you have as a coach, but just your feeling, knowing how to communicate to the young guys. How do you approach that next season? Just the beliefs that you have, but any kind of changes or tweaks on how to communicate?
When it comes to communicating, I'm just straightforward. I think if you ask all the players on this team, I don't hold back punches. I don't sugarcoat it. I want them to understand exactly where they stand with me. Sometimes I do it in a very playful way. Sometimes I do it in a very serious way. But I think I get my point across, and I think they understand exactly where they stand with me. So as far as the communication part is concerned, I think from that standpoint, with every player that I had this year, they understood it. They understood their roles, and they understood where I was coming from. So that to me wasn't something that was lacking.
Do you think they understand and can relate to maybe your values, maybe that you grew up with, played with, as far as telling them to be tougher, or they were, there were times where you called them soft. Do you think they understand or relate or can comprehend it? Is this generation in tune with your values?
I don't know if this generation is in tune. I think they're getting there. I am who I am. And like I said, I'm gonna call it as I see it. But I think our guys responded, on a number of occasions to me calling them out and putting that type of pressure on them. And like I said, I didn't only do it with you guys. I did it to their face at practice. It wasn't something that was, when they heard you ask them a question about it, it wasn't something like they hadn't heard. So that goes back to the communication part too as well.
And of course, the fans, maybe talk radio, Twitter, social media, want to blame somebody, and because
fans and they want to blame everybody. So
but a lot of them want to blame you because
that's fine. That's fine.
Are you into this? Does that in any way impact you? Do you ignore that stuff? Do you just shield it? Just don't turn on the radio, or do you laugh at it?
I roll with the punches. I roll with the punches because you guys, those guys, they're not in here every day. They don't see what we're doing in practice. They don't see how we're preparing these guys. So they have no clue. So all they're doing is voicing their opinion. And to be honest with you, I'm much smarter than all of them when it comes to basketball.
Byron, given the record of the last two seasons, there's obviously been a lot of speculation about job status. Have you received any assurances from management about your place here moving forward, and do you need that?
I don't need that. I mean, there's going to come a time where we're going to talk. I do understand that. And I understand this business. I understand this business. As I told you guys from day one, and it's still to this day, this is my dream job. This is my dream job. And obviously you want the opportunity to turn it all around. And you hope you get that. But I understand the business, of basketball. So, and it's all about wins and losses. I understand that as well. But I think over the last couple of years, the process that we've tried to, implement is in place, and obviously the summer is another big summer for us, and I'm looking forward to it as the head coach of the team until they tell me differently.
A lot obviously has to happen this summer. There's still the lottery, there's free agency, various things, but at this point, do you expect to be the coach next year?
Yeah, absolutely.
Byron, so much of what you bring or verbalize as your goal for this team is a defensive identity. When you've had 2 years where the defense has been as poor as it is, I mean, can you say that what you're doing is working, even if the numbers haven't yet yielded positive results?
I can say that they're starting to understand what we need to do, and over those 2 years, though, there's been a lot of changes as well. So again, you got to keep a core of guys together, more than a year, to really kind of develop that bond on that end of the floor as well. And again, it's a work in progress, and hopefully, our young guys are going to understand that, and the guys that we bring in are going to understand that, and we got to get better on that end of the floor from an individual standpoint, as I talked to guys yesterday, I made no bones about it, that they all have to improve on that end of the floor. It can't be the same thing we're showing every day in film from game 1 to game 80, and you're still making the same mistakes. You got to get it. If you don't, then obviously we just got to get better players.
But Byron, doesn't the talent that you have also have a great deal to do with that? I mean, you can teach them all you want.
Yeah.
If you don't have the talent
Absolutely.
to perform on the floor, then it doesn't make any difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Byron, as you know, fans can be divided, and they're not happy with the last 2 seasons. What would you like to say to them?
I'm not happy either. I mean, if our fans are sitting there really thinking that I'm happy with the way we played the last 2 years, then they're out of their minds. I'm not used to this. Mitch is not used to this. Jim's not used to this. Jeannie's not used to this. This is not us as a basketball organization. We expect to win. That's the bottom line. We knew the last couple of years were going to be difficult, but you still have a game plan in place, and we're going to try to carry that game plan, out. But if fans think that we're sitting at home, happy about our record and the way we're playing, then they're crazy. They don't understand our feelings as Lakers. This hurts me every day when I would go home after a game.
Kind of dovetailing off
Did
Jim.
you have a say in how you coach the team? Did that affect
No,
you in any way?
no, not a say whatsoever. Kobe, what he was so great at this year for me is being able to talk me down and relax me and just say, Coach, it's going to be all right. You just got to keep pushing them. It's going to be okay. It's going to take them some time, but it's going to be okay. And again, that's not the Kobe that you guys are probably used to seeing or hearing. So for me, he was a sounding board, somebody I can talk to about the team and the things that were going on. But he was also somebody that can just kind of get me off the ledge for a second, and just talk to me about the future.
Kind of dovetailing off Jim's question. Do you ever wish you had a better roster?
I think everybody wishes they had a better roster. I mean, there's going to be 29 teams this year looking to get better. We're one of them. At the end of the day, you're going to have one team in June sometime that's going to be happy. And that's the one that eventually wins the NBA championship.
Do you feel like you've been able to embrace this process, just sort of understanding where you guys are as a franchise, and the honesty and the things that go along with it? Like you're going to have to work through a rebuild. Is that something you've been able to embrace?
I think I've had to. I don't know if you want to say you embrace it. You understand it and you go through it. But like I said, it doesn't make going home at night and sleeping that much easier. Like I said, I live and breathe this, and I live and breathe this organization. So every night after every loss was tough.
How hard is it to shift the mindset away from pursuit of championships to the sort of more of a construction type of thing, building something back up in that way?
I don't think it's that difficult, to be honest with you. I think you have to just look at look at your surroundings and see what you have, and just be a realist about it. We know right now we don't have a championship caliber basketball team, but we also know that we're in the process of getting back there as well. So as much as it hurts, when I go home and and go to sleep and wake up 3 or 4 times thinking about it, when I finally get up to get here, it's always back to, hey, we got another day to get better, and having that positive attitude and that positive outlook on the future is the things that kept me going.
Byron, on that, look around the league, and you have pretty much all the top teams have had guys play together for years now, that type of cohesion. Do you think that, especially kind of the 4 young guys on this team, do you think that they can grow together like that? Do you see enough in that group?
Yeah, absolutely. They got to buy into, playing for each other. That's the thing that we talked about a lot this season. They're all have different gifts, individually. But they learned a few times this season when they forget about the name on the back of the jersey and worry about the name on the front, that we had some success, and then they would kind of go backwards again. So it's just a matter of those guys. The more they can play together and the more they can realize that they're going to need each other, the better the better off we'll be.
As you guys go into the offseason and you and Mitch are talking, what are you going to tell him that you feel like you need in terms of roster balance and positions and all those things?
Well, I mean, obviously we got to go through all that. You know, like I said, I haven't really even thought about all that right now.
Byron, would you say the franchise is in a better place now than maybe a year ago or 2 years when you took over?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, when you look at some of the young talent that we have, you know, those guys are young and developing. They want to be good. They just don't know how to go about it yet. You know, so, you know, obviously being tough on them and pushing them, you know, I think is a thing that's going to make them better. So if you look at us 2 years ago compared to now, yeah, I think we're in a much better place because we have much better young talent. Now that young talent just has to continue to develop.
Byron, how does this franchise turn the chapter from Kobe Bryant to, I mean, he's obviously been here 20 years. It's a big step to take with him not being here. But how do they turn the page on that? And what would you want players on the outside to know about, like, if they're interested in coming here now?
How do we turn the page of
Just moving
the absence of Kobe Bryant, you know, who's been here 20 years? I think it's really just it's a natural revelation. It's life. You know, he's played his last game. He's gone, so to speak, and you just do it. You just move on. You have no choice. You have no choice.
And what do you want, like, for free agency? What do you want the I guess the pitch to be now?
I mean, this is still Los Angeles. It's still a very attractive place to be, and it's still the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the best organizations in all of sports.
Do you think that Kobe's last game in any way can help you guys moving forward? I mean, obviously for Kobe and just for a moment it was incredible, but for an organization, Jordan talked about kind of that realization that it's the Lakers still and all that. Can that help you guys moving forward in free agency?
Well, you hope so. I mean, again, I think the first order of business, you know, with our young guys is having that Laker pride. You know, and like you said, you know, I think a couple of guys felt it that night. You know, that putting on this jersey is different from any other organization in this league, and you got to feel that way.
Byron, on the note you're mentioning at the beginning about just the farewell tour, maybe possibly bringing the challenges, how did you see the young guys kind of handle that whole thing?
Well, I think they had their ups and downs with it as well. You know, they sometimes they're trying to figure out, you know, what to do out there. You know, and it is a challenge. It is a challenge because you want KB to get everything that he deserves. You know, so I think sometimes our guys were torn on how to play or when to do this and when to do that because they were so, you know, into him being on the court. And when he was off the court, then there was sometimes a battle of, okay, who's going to take over instead of more of let's play together. You know, we have no choice. We don't have that blanket, that security blanket that can bail us out. You know, so again, it's just a lot of little things that I feel are big things at the end of the day, but they're things that can be corrected.
How do you kind of weigh the components of, you know, obviously with Kobe's talent not being there, dealing with that, but just the aspect of his shadow not being there as well?
You mean going forward?
Yeah, going forward.
Like I said, it's natural. It's natural. It's life. You got to move on.
Larry, what are your immediate plans, like, in terms of like vacation in the office over the next few weeks before the lottery?
Be in LA for the next 2 or 3 weeks, then I'm gonna take a vacation.
Where are you going?
None of your business.
We're not gonna follow along.
I know.
Maybe just on Instagram.
Hey, Byron, when you think about the development of young talent, is coaching as important, or is it more so experience that makes the difference to fully developing young players?
I think it's more relationships. You know, I find myself being a coach, but I also find myself being a father figure, a mentor. A lot of these guys, that's what they want. That's what they need. You know, you have to wear a ton of different hats, you know, when you coach nowadays compared to, 20, 30 years ago. You know, which is fine because I love interacting with players. You know, I think that's something that I enjoy before practice, during practice, after practice. So it's not anything that I'm not used to, and it's not anything that I'm not accustomed to doing. But I think for the most part, the coaching is obviously very important. X's and O's are very important. But forming a bond and a relationship with these guys is probably the most important because you got to get them to trust you, and you got to get them to buy in into the things you want them to do on both ends of the floor.
Last season you mentioned that one of your regrets maybe was playing Kobe too much. That may have led to the injury. Do you have any regrets this season that you can share with us?
How long we have? We don't have enough time. I mean, for me, because I'm seriously would have to sit here and really, really think about, the 7 to 8 preseason games all the way to these 82 games. Like I said, for me, the big picture was to develop our young guys and get number 24 through this season.
When you look at the roster, even if this summer you guys can't necessarily lead the talent that would get you, an extra 20, 30, whatever the amount of wins would be, how important is it, do you think, to develop something that's just more cohesive in terms of bigs that work well with the strengths of your guards and all these other things? It seemed at least that was lacking in terms of how the roster was composed this year.
I think is vital. It's vital. It was obviously a total difference in the two groups. When we played, you had one group in our second unit that played extremely well together, and then you had a group in our starting lineup of young guys that sort of wanted to be the man, and were kind of almost fighting each other, fighting the process. So it is vital for our guys to understand that there's nobody that we have that can do it by themselves.
But also even in terms of, like Roy doesn't seem not necessarily an ideal pick and roll partner for D'Angelo in that part of the game. Playing with Kobe is still more of an isolation player. All those parts just not fitting together to maximize the talent that you do have on hand. Is that something that can be fixed?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Byron, how do you, from when you took over the job a couple years ago to now, how have you changed the coach?
I don't think I've changed much, to be honest with you. I think I've mellowed out more, and probably that's a lot of that's probably because of the situation. You got so many young guys that you're trying to develop, so you got to really, really focus in on that, and you can't. You can't go overkill. You just can't. You just can't nowadays. You got to give them time to develop. So from that standpoint, I've probably mellowed out a little bit, but I'm still the same fiery guy that I was the day I was sitting over there doing the press conference. When I took the job, that hasn't changed. My desire, my heart, my passion for this game, my passion for this organization, none of that has changed. That is still the same, and I'm still a firm believer that we'll be back to where we were 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago.
Do you think sometimes you did push the guys a little bit too far?
No, I thought really I pushed them as far as I thought they can handle it. They haven't really seen me push them too far, believe me.
Byron, considering the record, a lot of which had nothing to do with your coaching necessarily, and just the talent level, but the tenor of these meetings, when you sit down with Mitch, is it going to be to resell yourself why you're still the right coach for this, or an affirmation of why this is working and why we should continue with it?
I think it all just kind of depends on how the meeting is going. Mitch and I got a great relationship. We've known each other for a long time, and I'm sure it'll be not only just Mitch and I, it'll be Jimmy as well. But like I said, I haven't made any bones about it. Where this is where I want to be. That's the obvious, So, but then again, I understand the business as well, But I love this organization and always will, no matter what.
Have you guys made plans to have those specific conversations? Do you know when that's happening?
No, we have not yet. We got a lot of other stuff to do right now.
Byron, you talk a lot about trust. You talk about sometimes they didn't trust each other on the court, and how much trust, how valuable the quality that is to have. How much trust was destroyed or ruined or fractured because of what happened with D'Angelo and Nick? And did you talk to them about that on a man-on-man basis to clear the air to see how you could help mend these broken fences there?
I'll answer that question, and then I want to answer another question about that situation. That situation obviously hurt us. And when you're in that locker room, trust is a must. It is a must. Because whatever 15 guys or 14 guys you have in there, it's a family. And when that trust is broken, it is very hard to recapture. So that was a situation that obviously hurt us. Obviously a young guy, in D'Angelo and Nick, that just, it didn't help the team. Let's put it that way. As far as me talking to those guys, I looked at it like this. Okay, they're two grown men. They got to talk this out amongst themselves. I cannot force guys to talk to each other. But what I can do, and what I did do way before that happened, is that I tried to give them enough information on how to handle situations here in Los Angeles and to make them understand that we are in a fishbowl. You know, everybody from the outside is looking in, and you have to understand that. You are a target no matter what. And every time you think you're somewhere and nobody's watching, somebody is. So just be very careful in the things that you do, the things that you say. And obviously we had one blunder, and it really messed up or divided that locker room. That being said, time heals all. He made a mistake. He knows it. You know, he is our player, and we love that kid. And I think that kid is still going to be a great basketball player. He made a mistake. It's over with. We move on.
A lot of nice things about Jordan Clarkson throughout the season. Has he really found his ceiling from what you've seen this season?
No, he hasn't. Jordan has a big-time upside. Now, what I did rip him about yesterday was his defense. He is too athletic and too quick, you know, to be that bad defensively. And I told him. And numbers, you know, from our analytical department they don't lie. So my challenge to him was that, you know, that end of the floor next year is a must. You know, and if we get the right players in here, if he doesn't do it, he won't play much. It really is that simple.
Given the defensive numbers, was that mostly the message?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's that important.
Kind of in a positive note. For Kobe's last night, how did you process that and what was that experience like for you?
You know what, I thought we started gearing up for it 2 nights before that. You know, we talked in Oklahoma City about minutes. We talked about, you know, going out with a win. Then obviously the night of the game, you know, for the first time all season long, for the first time in 2 years, you know, when I was coming in, he was coming in at the same exact time. You know, we embraced each other and talked for a quick minute. Then he went to do what he has to do, and I went to do what I had to do. But during that game, you know, it was just magical. And, you know, we had talked about minutes, as I said, and the third quarter was over. And you know, I looked at him, he looked at me, and he said, let me go. I said, you got it. But I also, at the 9-minute mark, you know, kneeled over him and I said, you got 9.5 more minutes left in that body? And he said, absolutely. At the 7:30 mark, I looked at him, I said, he is exhausted. 5-minute mark, I looked at him again, I said, you got 5 more minutes left in that body? Yeah. That was pretty much it. You know, and when we embraced after the game, again, I just told him how much I loved him, how much I've admired him. And I said, man, this is the way to go out. That's pretty much it.
Byron, with this season with the rookies, I find it interesting that this is all that they know, like the madness and the circus, you know, surrounding Kobe all season. Did you talk to rookies at all about, just so you guys know, this is not, you know,
Yeah, this is not the normal. Yeah,
this is not what you're gonna have next
Yeah,
year.
this is not the normal. But I also told them to embrace it, because you'll probably never play with anybody this great ever again. Probably never go through a situation like this. And I also told them the last game of the season, you know, it was more of a Game 7 type atmosphere. That's what we're used to. When you put that jersey on, that's what we're used to. And hopefully it motivates them, you know, to go out and get better. Because again, you saw a 37-year-old go out there and give, you know, a Utah team 60 points when he was dead tired, and he did that with just sheer will and determination in the heart of a champion. And I hope our guys, and I think for the most part after talking to them yesterday, it did affect them. You know, I mean, that struck a chord with most of the guys from what I saw yesterday. And if they can just keep that as a you know, a reminder that this is how you got to go out. And as he said after the game, he said, listen to the young guys that, you know, I poured in 20 years of my life, you know, and I didn't leave nothing. I have nothing left. And that's how they should feel. And I hope that's the message that they carry with them the rest of this summer.